So, hi, welcome to the essay structure workshop. Um, Thank you for filling out the attendance form. And we might have some other people roll in, but we'll just get started now. Um, so, I thought we'd start by going over the assignment just to make sure everyone's seen it, basically. So, 6 to 8 page essay, supported by research. He's really weighing evidence heavily, so it's good if you have like a plethora of evidence, a plethora of articles to pull from, um, or just that you have maybe not a plethora of them, but you have some really solid quotes to support your interpretation. I think it's really important to use a lot of evidence in this essay. So let's see, use literary terms. So once you use that evidence, then you would break down um, specific aspects of it that you want to examine. You would have like a quote, and then you would have your commentary. And we'll get a little bit more into that when we talk about body paragraphs, but I think that's the main like design for this essay. Um, we already know that research is required because you guys did your annotated bibliography. And then of course, if there's any MLA troubles or if you're not sure about something, feel free to contact me or send me your essay. My email, I'll just put it in the chat. It's kellyc@laccd.edu. All right, so he says it'll be graded on content, support, organization, style, and the quality of research and documentation. So like I said, evidence is really important in this essay. It's really important to 3 of the 5 things that he's grading. It's important to content because your content has to be accurate and it has to comment on your evidence. It's involved with support because that's all support is, and quality of research as well. It's related to. So I think that spending a good chunk of time on research and having some quality quotes will take you a long way for this assignment in particular. But let's talk about basic essay structure and how to start an essay. So we already kind of started with picking apart the prompt, seeing what parts are really important, what we have to do, and making sure that we take the time to understand that. So that's always the first step, right? So I don't want to downplay the importance of that. So firstly, good essay structure is important because it keeps your reader engaged and it helps you organize your ideas um, in a way that your reader can understand. So is this my outline? Yes, I do just want to drop this outline link here in the chat. Basically, this is just kind of like I don't want to say like a summary, but it goes over a lot of what we're going to talk about and just kind of puts it in like a concise fill in the blank kind of format. Um, so I definitely want that to be in your hands. So do you know how we start essays? Are you familiar with like introductory paragraphs and how they work and stuff? Yeah. Yeah, so basically for the recording people who can't see the chat, the participant says that they haven't had to do one in a while. So um, yeah, it can definitely be hard to jump back into writing essays, especially a really big critical piece like this. Um, if you're like, if you haven't had to write parts of an essay before or haven't had to write an essay in a long time. So definitely appreciate you taking the time to come to this workshop. Hopefully we can kind of go over the basics and get you rolling. So I'm going to basically build up an outline on this document, or like different examples of outlines. I think that one of the easiest ways to write an essay is to use some kind of outlining technique. And I'll show you my method, but I'll also go over like, you know, other methods basically. And you can write out of order, like you don't have to follow whatever order I put on the screen. But basically, each part of your essay has different components. So the introduction includes a hook and a thesis statement. And then usually something to tie those together. Some people call it background, some people call it forecast. And background means that you give some background information on what you're talking about. And then forecast is like you kind of set up your introduction to imply kind of some of what's to come. So there are some different techniques. Or you could just have a statement that, sorry about that, my headphones just turned off. So, yeah, or you can just have a statement that transitions between the hook and the thesis, and then you'll have like, a 3 to 4 sentence intro. And as long as you have some nice meaty sentences, you can build a nice paragraph basically. And it doesn't have to be 3 to 4. I mean, you can have 2 sentences for each of these if you want to, or you could have even more for your like transition. Let me just put transition here too, since those are the 3 that we went over. So that's kind of how you would approach the introduction. So like, where do you start though? It's still like kind of a blank piece of paper, still kind of intimidating. I personally recommend starting with the thesis, because that is the main like point of your essay, basically, just in one statement. By the way, I do have an attendance form for the person who just joined, so please fill this out. And I also shared a handout. It's right there. All right, so back to introductions. So building a thesis statement is kind of intimidating, but I think that that's, like I said, I think that's the best place to start. And you can kind of think of a thesis formulaically. I don't know if that's a word, to be honest with you guys, but you can kind of put a formula to it. You have to make sure that you include your topic. So you would want to state your topic first, and then you would want to go into your argument or opinion. And then you would want to put down your reasoning, and you can have one big reason that your whole essay is going to prove, or you can break it down into multiple parts, like with a 3-part thesis. If you guys like remember in high school, a lot of the times teachers would teach you to have 3 points, 3 reasons in your thesis statement. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So you want to have your topic, you want to have your argument or reason, or your argument or opinion, and then you want to have your reasoning. And you could have multiple reasons, in which case each of those reasons would kind of correlate to a topic sentence. So like, say we are following the 3-point thesis format, our formula would look kind of like this. And then each reason would correlate to a topic sentence. So like you would put reason 1 in your first topic sentence. you would put reason 2 in your second topic sentence, and in your third topic sentence, you would put reason 3. So like that's one way you could set it up. Or like I said, you could have one big
Alexa,
point.
stop.
You could have one big point that your entire essay proves, which gives you a little bit more leeway with your topic sentences and stuff. So, all right, so those are our little formulas for our thesis statements. Or, to be honest, the most basic thesis is just a topic and an argument or opinion. But it's stronger. It's a stronger thesis statement if you include some reasoning that you then prove. Like at its most basic, you could just have, blank is blank, but it's much better to have like blank is blank because, A, B, and C, or even just because of A, and we spend the whole essay proving that. So now that I've gone through that, you guys, I'm not sure where you're at. Did that like make sense? This is like the basic purpose of a thesis. Like did that stuff kind of make sense, or are there any like questions basically? Okay, cool. So I saw a yes. Feel free to put questions at any point in the chat. So let's see. We could have, I'm just pulling an example from the internet, but this is a pretty strong one. So we have our topic right here, our topic, and then we have the argument, and then we have our reasoning. If only I could type. So again, I just pulled this from like online, but this is a pretty strong example where you have your topic and you have your argument and you have your reasoning. So this is like a strong thesis example, basically. So that's kind of how you would put it in practice. You could ask yourself, what is my topic? What is my opinion about this topic? And then what is my reasoning? And then you can kind of condense it into a thesis statement from there. So I hope that was helpful. I do recommend starting with a thesis just because it is kind of a mess. Like the thesis statement is kind of complicated and it can be kind of daunting. So I try to break it down like this. And I hope that you guys find that helpful. So for the hook is where I would go next. I'd just finish off the intro paragraph after. Okay. I don't know what just happened. Sorry about that. I hope I'm still here. Um, my computer came back on. Yay. So I was about to send out a message like, I don't know what just happened to my computer, but we're good. So, um, okay. Continuing on. I would next go to the hook statement. So there are a lot of different ways you can start a hook statement. I think sticking to these techniques makes it a lot less daunting because it's like, do you guys know what the purpose of a hook statement is, by the way? It's basically to catch the reader's attention and make them interested in your essay. And that could be just as daunting as the thesis, to be honest, because you end up writing your whole essay and then the hook is left and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I write? I still haven't come up with an attention getter. So I think it's good to get it out of the way in the beginning. You could wait until the end and do your hook statement last. Some people do that, but I think it's easier to get it out of the way in the beginning for reasons that we'll go over in the concluding paragraph. So you can use a quotation. You can use a startling fact or statistic. You can use an anecdote. You can use a rhetorical question. That's like my personal favorite, to be honest. You can use description, or if you're writing like a response to literature, you can kind of summarize the story if you want to, or pull something shocking from the story, comment on the story, something like that, if you're writing like a response to literature. So you have basically 6 techniques that you could use to write a hook. And your hook doesn't have to be limited to one sentence. That's just what English teachers tell you to do is write a sentence. Um, you don't have to limit yourself to that. Um, like, oh, I didn't have like a quote prepared. We'll just make one up. We'll just make up a quote. So, the great, here, it's a made up quote. So, the great somebody once said, um, this is how you screw up your life in 3 steps. I don't know, some interesting quote that you can later explain. Um, sorry, excuse me. All right. So, some interesting quote that you can later explain, and then you can go into um, linking it to your essay topic after that. So you use a startling fact or statistic, according to the University of Arizona, 63% of um, lie detector tests were actually faulty. I don't know. Again, just made up, but um, it could count as like a startling factor statistic because like, people get incriminated for stuff like that. So I would say that's kind of startling. So um, and then, this implies blank, blank, blank. Use an anecdote. That's just like using a personal story. I can remember um, the first time my mother taught me how to bake a cake. It was a magical experience that um, could summarize. Um, I could summarize a lot of how I feel about my childhood. I don't know. But something eye-catching. for an anecdote, you would literally just write like a related anecdote, you know, and then you would tie it back into your essay topic so you could then link it to your thesis. And then using a rhetorical question, I think this might be the last example I do just for time's sake, but using a rhetorical question like what would you do if you one day woke up to find um your family never existed? I don't know, something. That could be kind of related to like a story. I would imagine. So what would you do if, this shocking scenario, this eye-catching scenario? Oh my gosh, my computer's doing the thing again. I got it back. Sorry, guys. I don't know why my computer's like, I'll have to like figure that out. What a bad time. So moving on to body paragraphs. Um, we are going to talk a little bit about paragraph structure. So let me just give you guys this. It'll kind of summarize what I'm about to say. So basically for a body paragraph, your most basic body paragraph format. Okay. On my screen, I'm frozen, but it's still sharing my screen, I think. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Um, okay, cool. So I think it's just my camera that's like frozen for some reason, which is kind of weird, but if only it caught me at a better angle, damn. All right, so the most basic body paragraph. Um, we want to have a topic sentence. Then we actually have a body in our body paragraph, which is it's like a miniature. A paragraph is like a miniature essay almost. Um, and then we have a concluding sentence. So that's our most basic format. So you would have, a sentence, and then for your body, maybe like 3 sentences. And that's like when English teachers tell you, oh, 5 paragraphs or 5 sentences is the minimum for a paragraph. And then you have 5 paragraphs in an essay. What's up with the number 5? Um, that's kind of the most basic structure of that. So if we break it down even further, we would want, this is where we bring it up into like a college level paragraph, where we bring in supporting points. And we make sure we have a sufficient number of them to prove our topic sentence. So this just beefed up your 5 sentence paragraph into maybe like an 8 sentence paragraph, because each of these supporting points are going to require a couple of sentences, right? So if you want to beef it up even more, let me just get one more outline out of the way and we'll talk a little bit more about structure. So if you went to El Camino, you might recognize this from certain teachers. This is a modified version of that. And I'll tell you what each of these mean. Okay, so you have your topic sentence, you have your concluding sentence. CM is commentary. CD is concrete detail. AKA your supporting point or your evidence. So basically you would use a supporting point or evidence, maybe like 2 pieces of evidence a paragraph, plus like another supporting point that doesn't require evidence. I feel like that's like a common one that I see. But you would basically build your paragraphs like that. And this would give you a meaty 11-sentence paragraph with plenty of commentary, which, remember, your commentary that comes after your evidence should be some kind of commentary on your evidence. It should be like analysis, basically, like what does this imply? What does this mean in the broader picture, basically? So you would do a little bit of analysis there for your commentary. So, okay, the Zoom meeting, I don't have Zoom Premium, so it's gonna like kick us out, but just come right back because I'm just gonna come right back and restart the recording. So here is a basic outline, and then here's that like 11-sentence outline for you guys. So yeah, now we can go over the actual components. So topic sentence, what even is a topic sentence, right? So basically a topic sentence is a sentence, it connects back to your thesis. It, like I was saying before, like if we had a 3-point thesis, then our first reason would go in our first topic sentence. So that's when we would bring these reasons back down here. So we need to make sure our topic sentence connects back to the thesis, but we also need to make sure it outlines where the paragraph is going to go. We need to make sure it is concise and narrow, quote unquote, enough to just be what a paragraph can talk about. Like it can't be like a second thesis statement, if that makes sense. It has to be a little bit more concise, a little bit more constrained compared to a thesis statement. So after our topic sentence, we need our supporting points, which what even qualifies as a supporting point, right? We like to say FREDS at the Center for Academic Success. So that would be facts, reasons, examples, details. Although I like to say examples/evidence because for these supporting points, you're probably going to want to use some kind of evidence, right? So I like to say examples/evidence. So you can kind of bring some evidence into your paragraph. So you would have 3 of these that you work into sentences, and then you would tie those sentences together to form your paragraph. And then when you go back and like refine it, you would make sure it all is related to the topic sentence for unity. So we can go over, all right, concluding sentence. Oh my gosh, I almost skipped out on the concluding sentence. Okay, so concluding sentence connects back to the topic sentence. It can be a restatement of points. It kind of just ties up the paragraph like a conclusion does. And I think that those points will make a little bit more sense once we go over conclusions. So let me, although I think I might want to share. I found this earlier that I want to share with you guys. Let me find it. Here it is. So hopefully that sends properly. It's kind of just a nice, concise visual to show you kind of how essay structure works and how each piece interacts with each other. I think that the visual can do a better job than me trying to like go back and forth and explain. So after drafting a paragraph, what do you do? Well, first you would edit it for oneness or unity. Make sure all the points connect back to the topic sentence, which connects back to the thesis. So yeah, that's kind of what you would do to make sure that your paragraphs are in tip-top shape. So I think Zoom's gonna kick us out like any second. Oh no, we've got like 4 minutes. I doubt I'm gonna finish before then, but we'll get kind of close. So let's go over concluding paragraphs, and I'll share this like notes document that I'm making. I'll share that with you so you guys can kind of remember what we talked about. Okay, so a concluding paragraph has 3 different parts. You have your transition, you have your restatement of the thesis, and you have your end hook. So transition, what is that? It can literally just be like, in summary, ultimately, to conclude. Some English teachers don't like it to be that direct, so that's when you would use words like ultimately or finally as your transition, just to transition away from the body and into the concluding paragraph. So it's a really small part, but it's really important. So make sure you transition between the body and the conclusion, and then the restatement of the thesis. Again, remember that's topic plus argument slash opinion plus reasoning. So you would restate all of that. And then you might want to bring in what you've proven. So you might want to, whatever you've proven in your essay, whatever you spent your essay, proving in your thesis, you could say like, oh, ultimately, you could say that that was the conclusion that we came to, basically. Does that make sense? Feel free to ask me anything if I'm like not making sense. So here, let's do like an example actually, because I was able to find one. So we have an example thesis here. So oh my goodness, it came out all weird looking. Okay. So once I paste these, I will read them out for you. All right. So the example thesis, community colleges are better than four-year schools because they are less expensive, they are more convenient, and there's more one-on-one time with instructors. And then for the conclusion and example restatement of that. Although on first thought it may seem that UC students got the better deal, after considering the facts, it is clear that community college is cheaper, is more convenient, and offers more one-on-one time than a UC college. So kind of including the conclusion we came to in the restatement of the thesis. And then the end hook, you kind of use similar Zoom's gonna kick us out any minute here. I'll just end here and we'll just hop back in the Zoom call. So let me just come back, okay?